Hello students, welcome to our outdoor class today. I just finished walking Bella. It's a beautiful day here in Montreal. The snow is melting, and so you can see I actually don't even have mittens on for a change, although my hands are a little bit cold. But I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about activism. As you can see, I'm wearing this jacket here and it says fake leather, real vegan. So this is a fake leather. This jacket was actually given to me by an activist here in Montreal who she said it didn't fit her too well anymore, and did I want it? And I said sure, because I could write something on it. Normally I wouldn't wear a jacket that looks like leather because I don't want to give the message to people that I am wearing leather, because I'm not, and people will often say that. You activists know that people will say, oh, look at her, she's wearing a wool hat and she's wearing a leather jacket, which of course this is not wool and this is not leather. But so that's why I decided to write this on here. And actually, just as a side note, in case you don't know, this is actually written backwards. The reason it's written backwards is because I do a lot of videos, and when I film myself, I don't want to have to do the invert function. Like on TikTok, for example, whenever you film yourself, you have to go out of your way to press an extra button. But when you're walking around in real life, like I am every day, if I'm wearing this, people can't actually read it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because they're interested. They're like, why is that writing backwards, and what does it really say? And so then they end up coming closer, and maybe there might be a conversation about it, like, why is your jacket, the message written backwards? Anyway, by the time you see this, it won't be backwards because I'm going to flip it for you guys, okay? Anyway, so I want to talk to you a little bit about activism and what you should do. So just to go back a little bit, when I first became a vegan animal rights activist, which is basically the moment I became vegan, August, well, my dog became vegan in August 2016, but I became vegan on June 27th, 2016. And when I started, I was doing a lot of activism, just with other people in my town, taking part in protests and filming them, doing the Cube of Truths and all this kind of stuff. And then after a while, I realized, well, I really should put as much as I can on social media, because it's like a way to magnify the message in a way that more people can get to see it, or multiply the message, more people can see it. So the problem, though, is that when we start to do activism too much with the same people in our lives, yes, they can tend to step away from us. So how do you know what the balance is? How can you balance it out without being a hypocrite, without being like, because you don't want to say to people, oh yeah, sure, yeah, it doesn't bother me if you eat that dead animal in front of me, if it does bother you. You don't want to say that, right? Because that's lying, and you must be your authentic self. However, if you repel too many people in your physical environment, like your colleagues or your actual people you walk your dog with, or your family, then what ends up happening is they don't get to see you, and they don't get to, have the message from you in a subtle way. So it's always this balance. If you have taken the Liberation Pledge, that means that you have made the statement to everybody that you will not be sitting at a table with any dead animals. That's something that you can do. Even at work, you can do that. You can say, I'm not sitting with you guys because I'm not going to sit at a table with dead bodies here. But it can be tricky, of course, because if your boss is there, you know, as well as I do, no matter what they say, that you will be judged for that, and because they don't want to be made to feel guilty, right? And then if you make too big of a deal out of it, you won't get invited places, which is also kind of tough, because it's better if you go along with a group of people, get invited to a meal, and then they can see that you're ordering something vegan, and then they can see, oh well, that vegan food, that looks okay, and you can have a conversation about that. So it's weighing it out. It's so difficult because our society is just not veganized enough yet for us to truly be who we want to be, which is passionate all the time and loudly passionate. And believe me, when I am out at any time, I want to scream most of the time at people, if they're wearing, especially, when they're wearing fur and they have a fur trim around them, and I want to roll my eyes. I mean, they're standing there in their coats, and they think they're so good looking, and they think they're so proud of being so rich looking because their coat costs a lot of money. And what I want to say to them is, you're wearing a dead dog around you. Like, why the fuck are you walking a dog and wearing a dead one around the trim of your hood when you don't need it? And these are a lot of sort of these rich, snobby type people who either they know and they don't care, or they're really clued out. I mean, some people actually still believe that when you have fur, that it was just cut off an animal and the animal's let go. I mean, no, these poor animals have been anally electrocuted. So that's not what's going on here. So basically, when I walk my dog Bella here, we have the ability to access a golf course, and the golf course is open to dogs in the wintertime so they can run off leash. So it's amazing for them. I mean, no matter how much a dog runs, walks beside you on a leash, it's never the same as if you have your dog off leash, free, just running with the wind and all their friends in a dog park, tackling them and rolling around and sniffing each other's bums. I mean, they just love it. You know they love it. How do you know? Well, because you just know. You see their tails wagging and they're jumping for joy. I mean, these are universal signs of many animals that they are having a great time. We all know that animals feel pain and they feel joy, and they want to be with their families and they want to be with their friends and their own species. So that's what's happening there. I take her out to this golf course and I let her run. Now, when I'm walking with these other people, the conversations that I'm talking about are generally very shallow. We're talking about things that are, things. We're talking either about people, or we're talking about what's going on in our houses, the leaky roof or whatever. And yeah, a certain amount of that is kind of important. You're networking about, oh, do you know somebody who could fix our leaky roof? And you're talking about whatever, a new stop sign in the neighborhood or something. And there's a certain amount of that's good. However, for myself personally, these conversations get old very fast, and I'm really much more interested in higher level discussions about ideas, about what are we thinking about, how can we solve the problems of society, what can we do with these political parties, how can we join them or fight them, or how can we write letters, or what can we do to make the world a better place, how can we have less pollution, and how can we have more animal rights activists in the world, and how can we veganize the world. So it's a little tricky because I'm around these people and they're basically just acquaintances. They're not really close friends. I don't know them that well. I walk with them and say hi, and we sort of chat a bit about the dogs, and when the dogs got their paws clipped or their nails clipped, or who needs a bath or whatever. But I'm always looking in these groups for somebody who's a little bit different, people that want to talk about ideas, not things or people. When you're talking about ideas, this is the group of people that I urge you to seek out. If you're in a group of people who's only talking about hockey, the hockey team, or the weather, it's a flat life. It's a dead life. It's not a life of making the world a better place. It's not a place of learning about anything that's really important. So I want to encourage you guys to talk as much as you can with people about different things that are important to further the world's development, but at the same time, don't isolate yourself. So how can you navigate this? What can you do? So my policy lately before was that I would talk to everybody about animal rights activism, and now what I do, because I have social media, is I tone it down a little bit more when it comes to individuals in my life. So I'm suggesting to you, what I've learned so far is this: make sure that everybody knows you're vegan. Okay, think about that. Does everybody know that your house is a vegan house? If not, all the people walking by, if not, you're doing something wrong. You need a sign in front. Now, I have a sign in front of my home that says, "Welcome to our happy vegan home." Now, just the fact that that exists means that people can see it, and if there are vegans in the world who are walking by, they can come and say hi, or they'll be like, "Oh yeah, hey, there's a vegan in my neighborhood. Cool, I'm not the only one." And it also gives the message, if people are thinking about it, it gives them one more click. Remember, it takes 100 clicks until you're vegan. This is my theory. It has to hit your head, it has to hit your heart. You have to understand the reasons that it's important, how the animals are suffering, and you have to get that into your heart as well. You have to feel their pain and the compassion. That's what veganism is about, is to understand how the environment is being decimated by animal agriculture, and how individual species, all of them, the sentient ones, are such victims to what we're doing. I mean, just raping the planet and just bulldozing everything. Like we are despicable cancer here on this planet. That's what humans are. So when you're out there in the world, it's important that everybody knows that you're vegan, because that gives them one more click. And it is important to engage in conversations as much as possible with people. But be very careful, because there's a fine line between being part of a group and being able to make an influence in that group versus being cut out completely where you cannot make any difference on a personal level. And the personal level does have some impact. So let's say you're online, let's say you're doing activism, like when I was on TikTok and I had 1.7 million followers, there was absolutely zero need for me to be out there in the real world talking about veganism, because I was doing it constantly online and I had such a huge platform. Now that I'm not part of that anymore, because I was deplatformed for my activism, which is very unfortunate, and I think it's super wrong and dangerous of society to censor people that way. But that's what's happened. That's the reality. Now I have to try to figure out what next. So because I have a YouTube channel, I can still speak every day to a few thousand people, and that is incredible. That's like, think about it. It feels like opening your front door, and instead of talking to just one neighbor, you're talking to 1,000 or a few thousand people. It's still quite remarkable. So use that to the best of your ability as often as you can to talk about the victims. And then when you're out in the real world, you have a little bit of a less responsibility to constantly wear these kind of jackets, that type of thing, or to like feel like you have to desperately, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like what is the word I'm looking for? Like link with people, like because there's a sense of almost urgency that new vegans feel. Like, I have to tell everybody, I can't believe these animals are suffering, and that's completely normal if you go through that. And you should tell your family and friends everything that you're feeling when you're first coming out of the closet as a vegan animal rights activist. But once everybody knows that you're vegan, and once they all know that you've given them a paper with the names of the documentaries, you've tried to watch these documentaries with them, you've told them about soy milk, you've taken them shopping or whatever, once you've done all of that, there's a line where if you cross it, you will be segregated from the group, and then you will not be able to speak on behalf of the animals. And possibly, if it's a group of people that you're walking your dog with, you won't be able to walk your dog with that group anymore, and then your dog will suffer. And the whole point is to have less animals suffer, right? So I don't know if you understand exactly what I'm trying to say, but I'm basically saying that, use your brain to try to figure it out, but don't lie to yourself and say, well, I did my part, so that's it. I'm going to be one of those vegans who's like, oh no, it doesn't bother me if you keep talking about dead animals all the time and putting them in front of me. Like, don't do that. Don't lie. But for example, today on the walk, there was one of the women was there, and she was talking. Now, I had spoken to her before. She knows I'm vegan, and she's not young. She understands, I think. But at some point she was talking to somebody else about, oh, I had this great meal, I was eating some duck and it was so delicious, and like, I'm standing right there. So it's like, okay, what's going on? Like, she doesn't seem like she's being mean on purpose, but does she not remember that I talked about how the animals are suffering so much? And she was one person who said, it's important not, it's like veganism is like a religion, and you shouldn't be like shoving it down people's throats. So I said to her, well, it's not like a religion at all, because there's victims involved. But I honestly got the feeling that this whole concept went right over her head, because she didn't seem to be malicious. She just seemed to be just stuck in her ways. And this person is older. And I truly think that it's just that she didn't make the connection that an animal rights activist who was feeling pain from hearing about this duck that's dead on her plate, I got the feeling she didn't really honestly remember. So I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and just say, you know what? Say to myself, I'm just gonna let it go. Now, I didn't smile and nod like it was nothing going on, but I also didn't, say, hey, yo, that's a dead animal you're talking about, because at the time there was about 10 other people listening to her message. So I had to make a decision about that. Another time, somebody else was talking about being with their dog and what to do with their dog regarding giving treats and disciplining the dog. So she was saying, oh, I gave my dog something that I know my dog really loves, like a bit of cooked chicken. And I had just said to this woman that I'm vegan for the animals. This person is a dietitian, nutritionist, she said. So she said, oh, I was vegan once and I found it too hard. So first of all, like, that in itself was just so surprising, that somebody is a nutritionist and found it hard to be vegan. and that there are vegans all over the world who manage to make it work. So, you know, I didn't get a chance to really say what I wanted to say, which was, what the fuck are you talking about? You literally have a dog, so you understand that dogs are sentient, and why are you killing other animals? Why are you fucking killing a chicken and giving it to your dog? And you're actually a nutritionist, and you actually know about the nutrients, and you live in an affluent neighborhood. You can easily buy tofu, lentils, beans, any other thing. I felt like saying that to her. But I let that comment go, because the whole subject was about her dog and training the dog. And if I had said something at that time, at that particular time, given that just about 8 minutes before I just introduced the subject of me being vegan, I made the decision to let that one go. This was just a new person. I had just met her. And it's a tough one, because don't get me wrong, you should not be letting people off the hook. You should be brave. You must be brave, but also use your brain. And so what I'm suggesting that you do is as much activism this way as you possibly can, because when you're talking to a camera, anybody can hear it, and they don't get their fists up as much because they don't feel personally attacked. So the more of us that are doing this kind of video, just turn the camera on and just start talking. And yes, you're going to turn the camera off sometimes and go, oh my God, what the fuck did I just say? Start over. I do that, but less and less now, because if I make a mistake, I'll just say, oh no, I didn't mean that, and I'll say something else. And yes, people can take that tiny clip out of context, but what can you do, right? Just do your best. It takes 100 clicks for somebody to become vegan. My message here today might reach one person who is their first time even hearing about the word vegan. People don't even know the difference between being vegetarian and vegan. So that just may be one click. The fact that they see this jacket might be a second click, or it might be combined with the first and just one message in general. Or this could be somebody who is this close to being an animal rights activist, who is this close to being a full-fledged vegan, and they see this message, and this and my talk is number 99 and number 100, and it just tips them over the edge. I have received many, many messages from people that told me that I am the reason that they became vegan. Now, I know that's not entirely true. I mean, unless they were actually watching 100 of my videos in a row, then maybe, yes, I can take credit for it. But I know that we are a team of us. We all do our part. Each of us has something to add to this. Now, I have a colleague. A colleague of mine is somebody who, I don't work with him anymore, but one of the things that he started doing is printing these stickers that people can stick anywhere that say meat is murder and things like that. Now, he is unable to do activism in the rest of his life because he's a teacher and he's bound. He's going to lose his job if he talks too much about the animals or if he pisses off the parents too much. But one thing he can do on the side is print these stickers, and he does it from home and he sells them on an Etsy shop, and I will talk about him in one future video. But that's what I'm saying, is you do what you can so that you can survive. Okay, think about it this way. When you are on a plane and the plane is going down, what do they tell you to do if you have a child beside you or an elderly person? They say, take the oxygen and put it on who? Who do you put it on first? You might be thinking the child, because you got to protect the child. But no, you put it on yourself first, and then you have the brains and the ability and the strength to then help the people around you. You have to take care of yourself. You must. You must love yourself. Feed yourself healthy food. Get outside and get some air. Move around, and never, ever, ever take your eye off the prize. Animal liberation. We are here for the animals. That is our end goal, and we will do it whatever fucking way works. If we have to shut up sometimes in order for you to just calm down and be able to receive our message the next time, we'll do it. If we have to roll up our sleeves and come in swinging because you're acting like an asshole, we will do it. Animal rights activists are here because we give a shit. And anybody else who's listening right now, no matter who you are, never, never give up. And if you fuck up, it's okay. 1 second later, you can change. Never mind the next day. Never mind an hour later. As soon as you fuck up, think, oh, I fucked up. Okay, Time to change. All right? I thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do. I will be talking to you about all kinds of things. I urge you also to say something important or interesting in the comment section so that I can have a conversation with you. I want to thank all of the moderators who have been great when I do these things, and they are moderating the comments and putting people in timeout. I really don't want to block anybody, but sometimes I have to, unfortunately. If you're just spamming and just being mean and, you know, sending death threats and just putting a bunch of meat emojis, you understand, I think, that this is not censorship. This is, you can do whatever you want on your own videos. This is my timeline. I want to have a discussion. I want to learn. So, and I want you guys to learn. So thank you so much again for all that you're doing to help the animals. I'll see you in the next video. Do 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 do.